Greetings, friends around the world. This is Dr. Bob Thiel for the Bible News Prophecy channel. Have you heard of China's Silk Road project? Any idea what it is? China has got an ambitious plan. So ambitious, could this plan possibly be paving roads that will lead to or near Armageddon? Well, perhaps. China, according to NBC, is looking to spend up to $1 trillion on this project. Now, this project is supposed to involve paving roads, making roads, putting up railroads, and working on naval passages and naval ports, etc., essentially to make all roads lead to China. What do I mean by that? There'll be roads from China that are to go into Europe, roads that go into the Middle East, and the Central Asian nations. There's also some talk about even somehow connecting down to Africa. It's a massive international project. Many countries are involved. On the 13th of May 2017, the Chinese government said all nations were invited to be at a conference we're going to have on this. Russia's part of this. India's looking at this. The idea of the Silk Road is kind of interesting. In the old days, there was something called the Silk Road. There was actually different roads, and silk wasn't necessarily one of the things that was really going down it very well. But it crossed over and allowed trade from places more on the western side to trade more on the eastern side. And China is working to connect these areas. Some are concerned that this particular project is going to increase China's influence around the world. And it certainly would increase China's influence around the world. I read today in the news that Russia is interested in it. One of the reasons supposedly they're interested in it is it's going to help the Eurasian Union come closer together, plus economic stimulus to both Russia as well as some of the Eurasian nations. While some are concerned about China's growth and influence, more nations are saying, well, yeah, whatever, but we'll take their money, we'll take their projects. Because many countries have said, look, even if it just passes through our land, we can travel on it as well, and maybe it can help our own economy. One report that I read said this One Belt, One Road will be 12 times bigger than America's Marshall Plan, adjusting for inflation. It's going to have a new Eurasian land bridge of freight trains. It's supposed to have a Mongolian-Russian corridor, a Central Asia, West Asia corridor, an Indo-China peninsula, a Pakistan corridor, a Bangladesh-China-Myanmar corridor, etc., etc. China is trying to bring these all together. Some have said the objective is to get all roads to lead to China, and China is also looking at trying to get digital roads or cyber roads to lead to China, but some of its censorship policies may interfere with that. Now let me read something from May 11, 2017. Beijing's grand vision includes the Silk Road economic belt, which extends from China to Central Asia through Europe, linking the northern Xi'an city with Dushanbe in Tajikistan, Moscow, Rotterdam in the Netherlands, and Venice in Italy. This is the road to get to Europe from Russia and China. Now, if you look at biblical prophecy, you're going to find that the Bible talks about the final king of the north is going to be affected or disturbed by news that comes from the north, which would be Russia, and China, which is the east. Daniel 11, verse 40 talks about the king of the north. Then in verse 43 it says, he shall have power over the treasures of gold and silver, verse 44. But news from the east and the north shall trouble him. Therefore he shall go out with great fury to destroy and annihilate many. He shall plant the tents of his palaces between the seas and the glorious holy mountains. Yet he shall come to his end, and no one will help him. So this is talking about the European king of the north power. Eventually there's going to be tidings from the north and the east. Russia and its allies, and China and its allies. Some confederation is going to happen. Now, this is also foretold in the book of Jeremiah. People don't tend to go here as much when they think about Armageddon, etc. But Jeremiah 50, starting in verse 41, we hear about some things that are going to happen. Behold, a people shall come from the north, A great nation and many kings shall be raised from the ends of the earth. We'll just stop right there. Coming from the north, well, the far north power, especially for the king of the north, would be Russia. From the ends of the earth, if you look at a map, the northern ends of the earth to a degree, we've got Russia. The eastern ends do include Russia, by the way, China, Korea, Vietnam, parts of Indonesia, Indochina, and I believe this also include the subcontinent of India. Now let's go down and others. Let's go down to verse 42. They shall hold the bow and the lance. They are cruel and shall not show mercy. Their voice shall roar like the sea. They shall ride on horses, set in array like a man for battle. Against you, O daughter of Babylon. We're talking here about the end-time daughter of Babylon, something related to Mystery Babylon the Great that's discussed in Revelation chapter 17. So let's continue. The king of Babylon has heard the report about them. His hands grow feeble. Anguish has taken hold of him. Pangs as of a woman in childbirth. Same type of thing we were seeing is going to happen to the king of the north, according to Daniel 11, verses 44 and 45. Now let's go to the book of Revelation. The book of Revelation talks about a time when the kings of the sunrise, or the kings of the east, are going to travel on land. And they're going to end up in Armageddon. Revelation 16, starting verse 12. Then the sixth angel poured out his bowl on the great river Euphrates, and its water was dried up, so that the way of the kings from the east might be prepared. Let me just stop there. The Euphrates River is expected to dry up, so people can cross. So it doesn't mean that the only roads people will be using to get to Megiddo, Tel Megiddo, is going to be the roads that China has made. But China is in the process of making roads throughout that will make transport to this region easier. Anyway, let's continue in Revelation 16, now starting verse 13. And I saw three unclean spirits like frogs coming out of the mouth of the dragon, out of the mouth of the beast, and out of the mouth of the false prophet. For they're the spirit of demons performing signs, which go out to the kings of the earth and the whole world to gather them to the battle of the great day of God Almighty. Behold, I am coming as a thief. Blessed is he who watches and keeps his garments, lest he walk naked, and they shall see his shame. And they gathered them together in the place called in Hebrew Armageddon. So we see the kings of the east are going to come across there. And there will be the river drying up. Now I've been to Tel Megiddo, or Armageddon, this is known, and there are highways out there. Now, I'm not saying that the Chinese Silk Road highways will necessarily directly connect to that, but there are roads, and the more roads there are throughout Eurasia, good roads and rail, as well as shipping options, will make it easier for people to decide to gather together in Armageddon. If the roads aren't there, in modern times, it'd be very difficult for armies to decide that they're going to travel across land that way. But with something like the Silk Road project, even if it doesn't work the way it's intended, the project's already been started. They're starting to build some roads in some parts that I believe will eventually be used for this particular battle. Something that I saw in the news yesterday says that says China is to extend its Silk Road plan into Afghanistan. And we've got more than 60 countries that are intending to link from Asia to Europe along land routes and maritime trade routes. China wants more influence. Now, China is not going to be the power that's going to rule in the 21st century the way I think the Chinese would like to do so. But Chinese money, Chinese influence is starting to build roads. They've looked at the historical idea of the old Silk Road and have concluded that they'll get more influence, be able to improve trade if they build these roads. Now, we're not going to go there, but Revelation chapter 18 talks about the merchants of the world becoming wealthy from trading with Mystery Babylon, or the Babylon power that's going to rise up in Europe. And China's trying to build more roads will get to Europe, which will facilitate all types of trade. So do I think that the Silk Road project is going to help lead to an ability or an easier ability for troops to gather in Megiddo or in Armageddon? Absolutely. We continue to see world events that line up with properly understood biblical prophecy. And I believe that China's Silk Road project, irrespective of how it ends up, have already started to set in motion, paving the roads to Armageddon. This is Dr. Bob Thiel for the Bible News Prophecy Channel.